Black tax is a monster that is eating as slowly as millennials, as youths, and it's time that we knew how to deal with this. Guys, welcome back to yet another episode of the Fun Investors. Today we are going to be handling a very sensitive yet very interesting topic, black tax. When you hear of the word black tax, I don't know what comes to your mind, but black tax is whereby black professionals are under pressure to share their incomes with struggling family members, thereby not being able to build generational wealth. When we say generational wealth, what do we mean? Generational wealth is the wealth that you pass from one generation to another. This is done over time through accumulation of assets, and this is supposed to secure your future. So in this case, I just want to look at black tax, looking at the Kenyan scenario, because at the moment most of our audience are from Kenya, and looking at it, I just want you to realize this, like, it's either you're born in a rich family, you're married into a rich family, you rob a bank, or say you win a lottery. That's the surest way to financial security. Yet, these things are not guaranteed. So, you find that it's difficult for Kenyan youths to save because they're living from hand to mouth. And this has been attributed a lot to the fact that they probably have high cost of living, there's probably low wages, or basically maybe it's just indiscipline. They are not able to just save what they earn. But again, there's this monster, black tax, whereby families find themselves in a situation whereby they're expected to fend for family members. Probably this is in form of maybe paying for their medical bills, paying school fees for their siblings, paying probably upkeep for orphaned children, and you find that this makes it very difficult for them to build any wealth over time or even save for that matter. And I think this is a topic that has affected so many Kenyans, and the fact that our Kenyan system doesn't have a proper social security system, you find that our citizens are not taken care of like that. They're not empowered enough to be able to build generational wealth in the process. So black tax is a monster that is eating as slowly as millennials, as youths, and it's time that we knew how to deal with this. So my panelists, or rather my friends, are going to also take you through some of the ways you can overcome this black tax, and also some of the ways you can build generational wealth in the process. So over to you, McKenna. Kindly guide us on the first point on how to overcome black tax.
Thank you so much, Bri. Some of us watching this might be having their parents calling saying, we need money for those seedlings, it's raining, it's time for planting, please send us money, send us 15,000. And sometimes you're just like, I can't, it just feels so overwhelming, because it feels like you start having this resentment feeling and feeling like you're an ATM. They only think of you when it's time for money, but they never think of you at any other point. So I totally can understand this gentleman. And thus there are various ways in which we can overcome some of these burdens. The first one, learn to say no. When you're able to tell your family members no, let me tell you, two things will happen. One, the first time, they will resent you. Oh my gosh, they will fight you. They will ask, who are you? Huh? You're a child and you're saying no. We took you to school. We did this, we did this, we did this. The whole village chanted for you to go to school. And then you're telling us no. So I know that first time there'll be a lot of backlash. But if you're consistent and you stay through that whole backlash, they'll begin to respect you, because they'll begin to see, okay, as much as you've said no, they can see you still love them, because you're still giving, but you're just not giving what it is they're demanding. If they ask for 15K, you only have 3K. Imagine, you can't go to take a loan every single month for that 15K. Something has to give, because also you have to remember, you have tomorrow. So if you don't look after yourself tomorrow, what will happen to you? Yeah? So you need to say no so that you have a better tomorrow, okay? Second, stick to your lane. I know we have this thing for December, we have to carry all this like a bale of unga, lazima tukule chapati, lazima tupike pilau, we have to buy a mbuzi, just because that's what everybody is doing. I mean, it's all over social media, it's all over the media and TV, like everyone is doing the same thing, your neighbors and everything. But my dearest people, if you cannot afford this, please do not put that pressure on yourself. I know that when you go home, there'll be that pressure. They'll be looking at you like, si unafanya kazi, mbona utupati, mbona utununuli. So please, stick to your lane, work within your means. If you can only afford 5 packets of chapati and 1 packet of rice and oil, imagine that's what will happen. That's what you will use, that's what you will take. Now, if you're many siblings, you can each divide these tasks so that you're not the only one who feels like you're always the one buying, spending and on the family members. If you have other siblings and some who are working, in fact, you're even luckier than most. Have them spread this around, and so that everybody is able to buy for their family and buy for the family for this occasion. If you're the only person who's paying for everybody, then people will have to understand this is what you can afford and this is what you'll have. If it's chapatis, mandazis and rice, peke, that is what you shall have until the time you're able to afford more. Okay? Third, learn to pay yourself. Please, 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 please. The moment you've learned to pay yourself, imagine that will be the first time you feel free. Because once you set a budget and you pay yourself after you've done now your tithe and your savings, and then after you've done your bills, pay yourself. In fact, I suggest pay yourself before you even paid your bill so that you have enough for you. Yeah? Because who's doing the job? Who's working? You. So if you don't pay yourself now, when will you ever pay yourself? You know? Once you've paid yourself and done your bills, there's an extra amount of money you probably will have. You can now give this money, a certain amount of money for your family members. If it's 10K or 5K or 3K, whatever it is. Then you can be sending these family members of yours a bit of it every month. You can either decide to be consistent by sending to them maybe a consistent 3K, 4K or 10K or whatever, or you only give based on need and based on who calls you that month. If nobody calls you in that month, then there's no need to save any money. So be a person who budgets and pays themselves first. So Mugambi, I'm sure there's a couple of ways maybe you can take us through that we can see how to overcome some of these feelings and burdens we express and experience.
Thank you, McKenna. With the young people, with the millennials, we are struggling with black tax. It is something that we really need to overcome. It is something that we really need to speak about. It is something that we really need also to think about, so that we can be able to make better decisions, that we can be able to create better relationships with our family members without hurting their feelings. McKenna has just mentioned something very, very important, that we need to learn to say no. But the question is, when and how do we say no to our family members or close relatives when they come asking for money, without really necessarily hurting their feelings or making them feel that we are neglecting them or we don't care for them. What you can do is that you need to avoid becoming your family's ATM by setting rules and getting to know the things that you can come through for them and what you cannot be able to come through for them. For example, if it's school fees, you can be able to assist to a certain extent. If it is settling maybe a hospital bill, you can come through by paying a certain amount of money. But if it's a basic need that they need, it's something that they can be able to work their way out. You don't need to be that person who is always available even on the small things, that somebody can be able to find their way out, somebody can be able to hustle, because the moment you show people money, that the moment you show them that you can give them money anytime they ask for it, then they will take advantage of that. And what will happen is that you will end up having a bigger financial burden, and number two, you will not be able to plan yourself so well in terms of creating a saving for your future, for your children, or even for your children's children. I mean, as young people, we need also not to expose or disclose how much we earn, because by so doing, we are creating a room for people to exploit us. We are creating a room for people to take advantage of us. We are creating a room whereby people will keep on asking for favors anytime, because they know you have money and you can give it to them. They'll create situations, they'll come up with stories, and at the end of the day, you may end up giving out so much money which may end up not even coming back to you. So Esther and Gladys probably can give us a few tips on how to create generational wealth.
Thank you, Mugambi. I'm going to talk about building generational wealth. First of all, remember it's an obligation that you have. From where you're seated, from where you're standing, from where you're lying, or from wherever you are in this world. It's an obligation that you have to build a dynasty for your children, for the children of your children, and your great grandkids. And for you to start off, you have to be optimistic, and you have to start now. There's no way you're gonna say, I'm gonna start tomorrow. So remember, it doesn't matter where you're coming from, what background that you have been raised in. It doesn't matter how your parents raised you or who raised you, whether it's your parents or your foster parents. It doesn't matter what kind of life you lived back then. It really doesn't matter how much education you have for you to be able to build a dynasty. Remember, you have to just be optimistic, set your mind straight that this is what you want and this is what you're going for yourself, for your children, and for generations to come. Secondly, you have to be very strategic about what you want to do. Find out what have others who have built dynasties gone through. What have they had to do? What have they had to sacrifice? What have they had to learn? What kind of skills have they had to acquire? Look at the skill set that you have, and look at the skill set that they have, and the skill set that you need for you to be where you want to be. Grow yourself step by step. Learn what needs to be learned. Also remember that you have to make sure the business you're going into, at the end of it all, it has to be automated. Learn how to delegate, because at the end of it all, as much as you're trying to be financially free, you're trying to be free with time, so that your business does not actually depend on you, and it can run on its own with the people that you've entrusted, that they can make it or run for you. So be very strategic. Write a plan if you need to. Ask for help where need be, so that you're able to do that at the end of the day. Those are my points, and over to you, Esther.
Thank you so much, Gladys. On the conversation of building generational wealth, one of the things you want to consider is diversifying your assets. And when we talk about diversifying your assets, we're saying move away from cash actually as much as possible, because cash is volatile, economies are neither here nor there, so you may find that the purchasing power of the money that you have now may differ today from tomorrow. So as much as possible, as you accumulate cash, transfer it into fixed assets. Some examples of fixed assets include, of course, real estate markets. So you want to consider how can you engage more in the real estate markets. The second point is don't walk alone. You don't want to walk alone. So actually you cannot walk alone when you're building generational wealth, because it literally just means that you're building wealth that will outlive you. You're building wealth that will go beyond your lifetime. So when we're talking about going beyond your lifetime, it just means that there have to be people beyond your lifetime who will carry your vision, who will carry the desires that you had for the wealth that you have built, so that it will continue in the coming generations. So this is a call for you to actually look for a protege, look for a mentor, actually a mentee, and work with that person. And so how can you do this? You can do this even through conversations. You can do this through just intentionally spending time with them and just helping them to see and develop a culture of investing, a culture of acquiring assets that you have, and a culture of stewardship equally. So this is a bit different from when you talk about black tax, where people have assumptions that, you know, hey, so-and-so is working, they're going to help us. No, that's not what I mean, but it's the other way around. It's now you saying, how then can I give back to the community? How then can I have people who will have my mindset concerning wealth in the next generation? So this is what I'm basically saying. Don't walk alone. You cannot walk alone. When you talk about building generational wealth, it means going with other people. So thank you so much, and over to you, Brenda.
Thank you, Esther, and to McKenna, Mugambi, and Gladys. Thank you guys for those very informative points. That's it from us guys today. Thank you for watching. Keep sharing, tell a friend to tell a friend, subscribe to our channel, like, and also comment down below if you have any other point regarding black tax and any other thing that you'd want us to share more on this channel. Thank you for watching, and once again, bye-bye.